Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Long Dark. As you can see, this is an early access. It is an alpha. So, this is another installation of a Hitchhiker's Guide to Early Access. How fitting that we're hitchhiking in Canada. I guess not really hitchhiking. We are in the harsh Canadian north, in a sort of post-apocalyptic survival game. Yes, I know what you're thinking. There are a lot of these on Steam right now, but this one is a bit different, and that's why I wanted to show it to you. Taking a look at this reveals to me that they are going for a completely different feel than games like DayZ, like Rust, like pretty much all of those that have this multiplayer-focused zombie survival experience. This is not zombie survival, this is single-player focused, and this is a much more realism sort of ordered game. So I want to go ahead and show it to you because I believe that this company, Hinterland Studios, as you can see here, are making a very interesting installation into this whole survival theme that's going on right now that's really the hotness. And I gotta say that a lot of them are stuck in this weird stasis where they're all getting up to the same point of feature sets, and then they're in this stasis of waiting for the community to decide the next cool features, and it's taking them all down a similar or even the same route of this multiplayer walking simulator kind of thing. This is not that at all, and I think that a lot of these games are going to need to distance themselves heavily from each other in the future, because eventually people are going to stop with the wanderlust of these survival games we've always wanted are now possible, and they're going to start demanding actually good video games. And this one, in my opinion, is showing heavy signs of being way different from the others. And I appreciate that. So let's jump in. Right now, there is actually a story mode that's going to be in the game, which is interesting. An actual story that you play a specific character with specific events, but that is not in right now. It's an alpha, of course. The only thing that's in right now is Sandbox. And right now, you can only choose a male or a female nameless survivor. So let's do this, and you have the Mystery Lake and the Coastal Highway region. Now, you can actually visit these regions. It's an open world. You can go in between them once you start. This is just choosing where you'll begin. You can, like, find exits to the lake from the highway and things like that. Like, it's an open world that you can venture into at your own speed. This is just where you begin. So we're just going to go ahead and start on the Coastal Highway because it's new. It was added in a recent patch. Speaking of, one of the reasons that I always try to recommend early access games, with caveats, of course, that always come along with them, is heavy updating. And this one has that. They have just added, very recently, in the last few weeks, this Coastal Highway region, which has basically doubled the size of the sandbox world of the game, which is very impressive. So, here we go. Let's show you how this works. A mysterious geomagnetic storm has brought your plane crashing down into the northern Canadian wilderness. How long will you survive? Right. Indeed. And you always get one of these cool little things in the beginning here. So, welcome to the Long Dark and the harsh Canadian hinterlands. Oh yeah. A little bit of frame drop going on. It is an alpha after all. So the first thing you might notice is the graphic style. It is a kind of graphic novel style, where everything is not so much heavily realistic looking, more like very stylized textures with a kind of cel shading filter over them. And it makes everything look very comic book or very graphic novel-esque, which I like a lot. I like that look. Some people aren't going to like that look. I personally dig it. It's very heavily stylized, and again, it reminds me a lot of comic books and the graphic novel style. Of course, a lot of games are going for that recently. Besides Borderlands, that does it a little bit differently. We have the Telltale games like Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead, things like that. They're going for that style purposefully because, of course, those games are based off of actual graphic novels. This game is no different in that regard to style. It is going for a semi-realistic, textured, but kind of filtered style. I like it. I think it looks good. So the basic premise of Sandbox is you're plopped down and you gotta live. And you do that living by, of course, well, finding things with which to live. You have your basic stats here. Condition is basically health. And then you have fatigue, which will go up as the day progresses and you don't rest, and goes up faster when you're sprinting around the place. Getting some heavy frame drops with this open, that's kind of weird. Then you have the cold, which is a pretty unique feature of the game because it is, of course, Canada, and it is freezing balls there. It's negative 8 degrees Celsius right now, which is freaking cold. You also have hunger and thirst, of course, and you actually have a calorie meter, which reminds me a lot of playing Misery, actually. So, let's go. And you will find these areas all over the place. This is a little trailer I found, and you're going to be looting them for things. Lots of stuff. Now, for some reason, the overlays aren't showing up, which is weird. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Normally... Oh, there it is. Is it gonna... Yeah, it's gonna show up now. Okay, that was strange. We'll just ignore that for now. So I'm picking up some stuff, and you can also search. There's a lot of searching in this game. Lots and lots. Of course, you're scavenging for anything to help you not die as quickly. And right now I'm finding some drink, some newsprint, and searching some containers for anything of value. Clothing is important because, of course, it's freezing. And the more heavily layered clothing you have, the slower you will freeze to death, which is quite important. Very grim, by the way. So looking at our equipment right now, we've got some basic things. You can see everything also has a condition, which I like. It's, you know, kind of a material degradation system. Your clothing will deteriorate, and eventually, you know, if I found another one of these basic gloves like this, for example, you can see they're the same exact gloves, but these have a much higher condition, so the bonuses they provide to not making me die as quickly are greater, so I'm going to wear those. Because, of course, they are probably not got a bunch of holes and stuff worn down in them, and they protect me better. Cotton socks versus my wool socks. The wool socks are better generally, but these are a higher condition, so I'll wear them. Just a little bit warmer. And this is, you know, all the stuff that you start with. You always start with the same things, basically. And you also have a harvest system, which allows you to actually get materials by destroying items you have. So I don't need these gloves anymore, so I'm going to get some cloth from them. And as you can see, everything takes time. The time passes, and of course, as time passes, you get colder, you get hungrier, things like that. So you have to manage your time valuably. So I'm just getting some cloth from these. You can use cloth to... I think you can use them to make bandages, maybe? But I know you can also use them to... If you have something like a sewing kit, to repair the condition on the clothing items you already have so they'll last longer and provide you with better protection. From the harsh Canadian elements. Alright, getting some tinder, making tinder out of newsprint so we can start fires a bit easier. And generally your first goal in this game is to get some food and drink to actually live. Now, I was lucky to find a cedar log. Cedar burns for a little while. Fire is very important because, of course, it's freezing, so fire warms you, but also you can purify water you find as well as melt snow to get more water. Water is, of course, very important. It's pretty much the best source of thirst curing things. Sodas and things do it, but not nearly as well as water for obvious reasons. And you can also cook things that you find, like you can get raw meat, either that you find in houses or you get from dead animals. And you can eat that, but it's not going to provide you with a lot of nutrition, and it's going to carry a risk of giving you food poisoning, which is bad, obviously. And also, you'll probably find that it's much more worth it to cook meat because, as well as having a much lower risk of food poisoning, it gives you way more calories and satisfies your hunger much better, which is very important when you don't have a lot of meat in the first place, so you want to make sure every bit of it is used in the most efficient way possible. Ow. That's the way this game goes. It's about efficiency and survival. It is about managing the sparse resources you're able to scavenge up in the most effective way possible, because Sandbox, of course, is a sandbox, therefore it doesn't really have a goal per se. You are attempting to, more or less, survive for as long as possible with no goal. There are no missions or anything like that right now. It is simply a sandbox. All that is going to be eventually, and of course a story mode, but that's not available yet, so we're just judging the game on what's being presented right now. And I love the world they've created. It's, of course, fairly simple looking from here, just lots of trees and snow. It is Canada, of course, they have lots of trees and snow. Quite realistic, and as it goes on, you'll find lots of cabins and little houses, you'll find little huts, docks, of course, on frozen lakes. Gotta worry about ice breaking, by the way. And I think the world they've created is actually fairly interesting in its harshness, but it's also quite pretty. And again, I know the graphic style isn't something that everyone's going to like, but I personally find it kind of endearing. I think that there's some texture quality that needs to be improved, especially on larger textures and especially on metal textures that you'll find on buildings and things like that. I think that some work needs to be done on a lot of the textures, but I think if they keep this sort of graphic novel style, it'll help the game a lot. It actually looks a bit like Dishonored as well. That kind of almost watercolor painting-esque look. And here we come across some cabins. So let's get over there and search them. Now, of course, there are no zombies in this game, thank God. And your main enemy, besides the freezing cold, are wolves. There are wolves up here. And wolves are a big problem because they can kill you very quickly. As you may guess. Painkiller is nice, granola bar is sweet. Wolves are something you've got to watch out for. Now, there are also these workbenches which you can craft some items in. The crafting is not super fleshed out yet, but you can do some simple things. I can make a snare trap to try and catch some small animals if I want. But I'm going to keep searching in these little fishing shacks. So, let's see here. Going indoors is nice because, as you can see, indoors you're protected from the wind, so your cold is going to go down slowly. This is a way to not have to build a fire constantly because, of course, wood is limited, and still be able to protect yourself from the cold. Alright, yes, a bunch of stuff. Let's get all of this. Of course, you can only carry a certain amount of weight, 30 kilograms at max, and as you get more fatigued, as your fatigue meter goes up, you will be able to carry less and less, which is important. Fatigue has several effects. Eventually, you'll not be able to walk as fast, you can't run as quickly, and if you get attacked by a wolf, which I'll try and show you at some point, it's kind of a quick time event almost, where you have to click rapidly to build up the strength meter, and then right-click to sort of apply the strength to an attack on the wolf. And you'll have to do this multiple times to get the wolf off of you as it is trying to kill you. And that meter starts to fight you once your fatigue goes up. If you're very tired, you're probably dead if you get attacked by a wolf, because you will not be able to actually build up enough of a fight against it before it just kills you. So we are going to eat some condensed milk. Eat/drink. Good. We found a can opener, which is good, because things that are in a can, you need to open them. And the option, if you don't have any tools for doing it, is smashing the can, but a certain percentage of the contents will be lost when you do that. So it's of course, as I said earlier, it's about efficiency in the things that you find. And that is a very inefficient way of using your resources because you lose parts of it. So we are not too bad right now, a little cold, but there's a bunch more cabins around here to search, so. And this is how the game goes right now. It's fairly simple in its execution. That's a wolf. Let's not get eaten right now. There's, I would say, not a lot to it, but I don't think that's quite fair. There's actually a significant amount to the systems in the game as it stands. I think it's pretty cool, a lot of the things they've done. But with Sandbox, there's not a lot to it because it's just surviving. Yeah, there's no overarching goal or anything like that. You're just trying to not die, basically. So I think that that's, of course, not going to be for everyone, because some people are going to be looking for a more advanced goal, like to establish a base, or to reach a certain day, or to do something like that. That's not in right now. One of the things that's setting it apart from a lot of the other ones is building isn't a focus. You can't build, and I think that's actually good, because this is not that sort of game. You're relying on the structures that you actually find to keep you out of the cold and wind. That's important. You're not punching trees to get wood to build. Yeah, it's not that kind of survival game, and I'm happy about that, because again, a lot of these, in my opinion, need to differentiate themselves from each other. And this one's doing a good job at that. So we found some more gear. Let's see here. Always good to check. There's a fleece sweater. Not that good. An insulated vest is also, it's too, it's unfortunately too damaged to be of that much use, so I'm going to harvest them for their delicious cloth. And let's do this. You'll also see that I found some tools. You can use those tools to repair mechanical things like guns, lanterns, things like that, and you can also use the tools at workbenches to craft certain items. You actually need tools to do certain things. For example, you can harvest wood from around you, which I'll show you, but you need like a hatchet or something like that to actually do it, because you can't just punch a tree. This isn't Minecraft, which I like a lot. And this, forage wood. If you go to forage wood, right now, I can get reclaimed wood, which is because I'm in a building and there's furniture to actually get wood from. I can not use a tool and then harvest some wood, and this allows me to get some fuel to burn in fires. Reclaimed wood is the worst of all the woods. It burns for, I think, 30 minutes a unit, which is not very good, because like even softwoods tend to burn for about twice that long, and hardwoods for much longer than that. But it's much more accessible because you can do it without a tool, because you're tearing furniture apart and stuff like that. But without a tool, it takes longer, and of course, time is important because you burn calories, you get hungry, you get thirstier, and you get more tired. And also tinder, which is simple to get and needed to actually start a fire, whereas wood is for fuel. So, as you can see, when I go outside and go to forage wood, I can get softwood and hardwood, but without a tool, it's going to take a very long time. I don't think the system is fully fleshed out yet because the time it takes doesn't really change that much. I believe they intend to make it to where you're going to need a tool like a hatchet to get wood in a expedient fashion. Ooh, a bunch of stuff. There's some reclaimed wood, as you can see.
Prepared for anything.
It's pretty simple, but if you don't have anything else, then it's worth taking. I'm also starting to carry a bunch of stuff. Also, first aid is important. As you saw, I got some painkillers and some antibiotics, and I have some antiseptic solution, basically peroxide. You can get injured in various ways, and you're going to need those things to not die. So, if you get attacked by a wolf, you might get an infection. You also might be bleeding. So you'll have to apply a bandage for the bleeding, and apply some antiseptic, and a bandage for the infection risk to minimize it. That's an interesting system. I actually like this condition system instead of just having straight health, because it allows other things to deplete your health, basically, in a more immersive way. Things like, you can die of exposure if you're outside in the cold and the wind. Eventually, once this cold meter reaches full, you're going to start freezing to death, and your condition's going to start going down. If you have a sprained ankle because you were sprinting upstairs, might be time to show you the wolf attack system. And as you can see, these blizzards can occur as well. Your visibility is going to reduce heavily, your cold is going to increase much more quickly, and you're not going to be able to light a fire in a non-sheltered area because it's too windy. And of course, you can't light a fire indoors because, well, that might kill you. So, let's see, what else is in the game? Also, there's a rudimentary skill system in the game. You have a repair skill and a fire starting skill. There's not actually a screen that shows you these, unfortunately, but, I mean, do you have a first aid skill? I don't remember. But basically, when you go to start a fire, it'll give you a chance of starting it, depending on what you're using. The type of matches, the type of accelerant, the type of tinder, and the type of wood all factor into how easy or hard it is to start a fire. Also, where you are. Ooh, 303 round. Okay. And this is important because, of course, every time you try, you use a match and you use tinder. Now, the wood won't be consumed unless you actually successfully start the fire. I think the accelerant is consumed as well, though, so gotta be careful about that. And what it means is every time you actually successfully start a fire, your fire starting skill is going to increase a little bit, which is going to give you a slightly higher percentage chance of starting a fire. And this skill system is like that always. Like, there's a skill system for repairs as well that affects the same thing. When you go to use a sewing kit to repair your gear, The repair skill is going to determine how likely it is that you'll successfully do it, and how much of a percentage you'll gain from doing it. Alright, so this is how you fight off a wolf. As you can tell, it is very quickly killing you, and you gotta just beat the crap out of it. It actually died, so if I had a good enough tool, I could get some meat from it, but I'm not really worried about that right now. What I'm worried about is going inside so I don't get attacked again, and then looking. So I need a bandage and some antiseptic before my condition goes down, because I'm bleeding. So this is that condition system in action. It allows health to be more ambiguous. It's literally health. It's not like a health gauge. It's like literally how healthy you are. And various things like infections and small injuries and things like that, bleeding, freezing, exposure, those all determine how healthy you are. I like that. Alright, so now that I'm bandaged up and stuff, my condition's going to stop depleting. And as you can see, that all took time. So in other words, what's going to be happening is you need to manage your time, because eventually, when you get in a situation where, you know, you're hurt and your condition is depleting, time is literally killing you. So you have to do things in an expedient way, in an efficient way. And that's how the game goes, basically. It's all about efficiency. So I think I've shown it off fairly well. I don't have every type of item there is. There's a lantern, which you can fuel up and use to light things, because things get very dark. You can also light matches, which normally you use to light fires, but you can also just light a match to get some temporary light around you. And where's my soda? And you can, let's see. You can find a gun, you can find a rifle. It's pretty fun to use. Ammo is scarce, so you gotta be careful with it. But you can hunt with it. You can hunt with it, which is important because you know, meat is a very good source of food. There's other wildlife you can find, I believe elk or deer and rabbits. So using a gun is an efficient way to kill them if you have the ammunition. And of course, aiming is a bit tricky, but the gun actually feels really good to use, and I'd like for them to add a few more firearms into the game. Maybe a revolver? I don't know if revolvers are... I don't think they're very common in Canada, like in reality. But I mean, just revolvers fit a survival theme very well, because you can, you know, they use ammunition in a specific way that makes a survival experience kind of neat, I feel. More so than, like, a semi-automatic pistol. And I think it would be a neat little addition, but of course guns should be rare-ish. And they are. They're difficult to find. When you find one, you feel very fortunate that you actually found one, which is good. And also, you feel like you have to really save up your ammunition and use it only when you absolutely have to. Basically, this is an Into the Wild simulator. You are Alexander Supertramp. And in Sandbox, your goal is to find your magic bus. In other words, find a place where you are fairly safe and make it kind of your base. You're finding a good structure that you can be warm inside of, you can sleep inside of, maybe even has a fireplace. And kind of venture out of it farther and farther in order to find more and more resources, hunt, things like that. That is your goal. And I actually like that goal a lot, because it's a lot better, in my opinion, than trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. That can be fun, but I like that this game is taking it in a different direction. I feel that the developers, that Hinterland, knows what they want out of this game, and they're doing it well. They know the kind of experience they're hoping to achieve, and they're not jumping on the zombie survival bandwagon. And I like that. I think that the systems are interesting. The whole purifying water, you can even find water purification tablets, but they're rare. The whole weapons and ammunition being very, very scarce and very... not necessarily difficult to use, but you have to really focus, and you can't just blast away at everything. You're not going to hit anything, and you're not going to have any ammo. The way that the condition system works is really interesting. Instead of just like a health gauge, I think it works a lot better than that. The repair and harvesting system, the way that you have to forage wood, which takes time, the way that the first aid system works with different types of afflictions that are remedied with different combinations of items you may or may not have. And if you can only remedy them partially, then you're going to need to rest and your condition is going to decrease until it is cured or you die, essentially. Like, you can wait out food poisoning and eventually it'll be cured, but your condition is going to be depleting. And of course, in a real survival situation, that's important because if you're injured or not feeling well, you know, you're going to basically be slowly dying. And if you don't get over it in time, it's going to best you. And I think the feeling of this game is a lot different from the myriad of zombie survival post-apocalypse experiences. It is a much more harsh and grim survival against the elements rather than survival against things out trying to kill you. Of course, wolves will try to kill you, and they are the most common source of death in this game. But wildlife is a little different from zombies, and the cold actually being a huge feature is actually really cool to me. I think it's important also to note that they are updating this game quite frequently with a lot of new items and a lot of balancing of the current items like calorie values and condition and things like that. As well as the fact that, like I said, they just added the update that basically doubled the size of the world. I'm actually not showing you a lot of the world in this video. The world is huge. You can take quite a long time to explore it. I mean, you can spend hours searching and not find everything. I found some gas stations which were quite valuable. I found some big 2-story cabins and some small shacks. I found lodges. I've even found a dam, and it's actually really creepy inside. It was a huge, like, hydroelectric dam that you could venture into. It was really cool. And like I said, the environments are key to this game because it's not about surviving enemies, it's about surviving the environment, and that's what I think sets it apart from the myriad of other games doing the survival thing. Also, the single player focus, and eventually the focus on story once that is put in, is important, and I like it. So I'm freezing to death, which is less than ideal. So let's go inside and end the video. So this is a little house you can find, and as you can see, you can search almost everything, which I like. You can search all the cabinets, the kitchen cabinets, armoires, dressers, everything. Nice. And yes, that is Jennifer Hale's voice, of course it is. And that's how the game goes. So if this is something that interests you, the early access is looking promising. Again, the caveat for all early access games is, of course, they aren't finished and they may never get finished, so buy at your own risk. But with the rate of very good content updates, really good and large updates for the content, and the fact that they are constantly talking to their community, implementing new features and things like that, that's important. And what I really want to see is some Steam Workshop support where people can make mods. I want to see modding support for this game. People could put in their own items, put in their own maps, and eventually maybe put in their own characters. I would like to see an expansion of the skill system where maybe you could choose a character in Sandbox that has a specific background, like maybe an ex-park ranger that starts with a weapon and some better fire starting and foraging skills, or a tourist that doesn't start with very good skills at all, but has a bunch of like food and water and stuff at the beginning. Things like that. I don't know if that's the kind of feel. Yes, that's dog food. I don't know if that's the kind of feel they're going for in the game, so I'm not gonna say that that's something that they definitely should put in. But I think it'd be interesting, and if that is the kind of direction they want to go, an almost RPG-esque light experience with the survival game, that I would really like to see that. And I'm hopeful for the game going into the future. So there you go, folks. This is The Longest Dark, a Canadian daily life simulator by Hinterland Studio. I will try and update you when the game itself updates. Once a few large enough updates have been passed through, I will attempt to, revisit it and show you how it goes from here. Thanks for watching, everyone. And if this looks interesting to you, I will link you to the description. But again, if you want to see more about it, there are other videos to see, and if you just want to wait and are hoping for more content before you want to put your money out, then there you go. Then that's totally fair, and I will try and update you when stuff like that happens. So there you go. The Long Dark, everyone. I'm gonna head off to bed now and fade away. See you guys next time.